This is Cookie Chat with Girl Scouts of Eastland, Missouri.
Good afternoon and welcome to Cookie Chats. Thank you for joining us. For those who are new to Cookie Chats, this is our yearly series designed to help guide our cookie volunteers and families through the cookie season with helpful tips and tricks from our product program staffs and some of our expert cookie volunteers, parents, and caregivers, and Girl Scouts. I'm Kayla Bickham, the GSCM Social Media Coordinator, and I'm here with Michelle Johnson, the Director of Product Programs for Girl Scouts of Eastern Missouri. We also have Rosie, one of our expert cookie entrepreneurs, and her mother and biggest supporter, Megan. Last Saturday, we officially kicked off the 2025 Girl Scout cookie season with Go Day. I hope all of our Girl Scout families had a wonderful weekend going door to door in their neighborhood, bringing their order cards over to family members and friends' homes, or even sending out emails to their digital cookie sites. Traditional cookie sale methods will be the focus of our discussion today, and we are excited to hear Rosie's expert advice. Welcome, and thank you both for being here today. Rosie, if you want to start, you can tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm Rosie. I'm 11 years old, and I love Girl Scouts.
Michelle, our first question is actually for you. For all of our new cookie families out there, including me, what is the initial order phase and what can they expect to do during this time frame?
So the initial order phase is really just referring to the first 3 weeks of the Girl Scout cookie program. And we call it initial order. We also can call it pre-order. And it is the time where our Girl Scouts, nobody has cookies yet in our council. And so they're just taking pre-orders from their customers. And then the troops will place those orders and pick them up in mid-February. And really this time is when probably the majority of our cookie sales happen. And then that second part of the season is boothing. So it was just a different time period. So yeah, a lot of our cookies are sold during this time. A lot of the traditional methods take place during this time. But even after the initial order period, the cookie program continues and Girl Scouts can still continue those traditional methods when they have cookies in hand too. So they can take a wagon and go around their neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. So you kind of walked us a bit through the Girl Scout cookie season. As a parent, Megan, what do you like most about the cookie season?
That there's always kind of a sense of excitement about cookie season. So I am a former Girl Scout myself, and I remember being really excited about cookies and thinking about how many I was going to sell and what the prizes were and all those kinds of things. So there's just a general excitement, I think, to get started, and Rosie loves it. So I pretty much love watching her be enthusiastic and watching the girls in her troop get all excited. It's contagious.
So having that background as a Girl Scout, being the one yourself, how do you keep Rosie motivated to be so successful each season?
I would say that the goal setting is a really big deal. So not only the end goal, but Rosie and I talk about little miniature goals along the way that we celebrate. So when we spend time visiting doors, or she hits a certain number of boxes, or we focus on those incremental goals as she works towards her bigger goal.
That's really smart. So what is her big goal this season?
So my goal is 1,000 this season.
1,000. We've been hearing that. Me and Michelle have been hearing 1,000. So Rosie, to help other Girl Scouts that are listening in, can we start from the very beginning? What are the first tasks you complete each December to prepare for cookie season in January?
My favorite thing about selling cookies is you can't sell cookies without a plan. So I set goals, make a route, and circle houses that I would like to do on those days.
When and how do you work with your adults to decide what goals are reasonable to set for the season?
So we look at last year and see what is a reasonable goal and can I make it in the specific time we have. And we just try to agree most of the time.
I think Rosie, every year she's grown through her scouting, her goal is increased. And I think she recognizes kind of the effort that it takes to kind of incrementally increase that goal every year. And also, I see her skills increase. So as we talk about the goal, we look, okay, well, what did you sell last year? How much time did we spend out on the sidewalk? How long is that initial phase of cookie season? How many weekends do we have? Because it really, for us and our family and Rosie's schedule, it has to take place for us personally, kind of the majority of that door-to-door time on the weekend. And then, Rosie thinks about kind of what she wants to achieve and sets that goal. And then we sort of work backwards and say, okay, so what does that mean? How much time does that take? What are the steps we're going to take to kind of get you there?
Yeah, so it seems like you guys converse a lot between the two of you on the goal setting and how we're going to get there. When you guys are sharing those goals with customers, why do you think it's important that they know about the goals too?
So we try to tell them why we are setting these goals so they know why to buy cookies. So we tell them about what I did last year, what I did like with my group, and then that really persuades them to buy more cookies.
Exactly.
I
Yeah,
think that has been
Go ahead.
really, I'm sorry. I think that has been really reinforcing is that a lot of these are repeat customers. So when we go back to visit with those neighbors, Rosie talks about what were the outcomes of last year's season and, how many boxes did she sell? How many boxes did she sell at the door? And then kind of, what was the result of that? And what did she enjoy of that process? I think that makes a big difference.
Michelle, what were you going to say?
I was going to just agree with what Rosie was saying is, but it's helpful to for them to know what they're supporting. And so no, it's not just building the skills with girls to learn goal setting, but if I'm going up to a cookie booth or if somebody's coming up to my door and it's a Girl Scout, and maybe it's because I work at Girl Scouts, but that's my question for them is, what are you selling your cookies for? What does your troop hope to do with those proceeds? Because I want to know that they're being used in a good way. People work hard for their money these days, and they want to make good choices about what they support. We believe Girl Scouts is a good organization, and I'm sure individually they love to hear if Rosie's going to camp or her troop is going on a field trip or a service project. That really connects them to the mission and the Girl Scout they see in front of them.
Absolutely. So we talked a lot about goal setting and working on that plan and making sure it's thorough. Even just talking with yourselves and using the map that you showed me about what doors to hit. What about materials that you maybe create to help market your cookie business before you head out to visit your friends and neighbors?
That's a really good question. I have a few. So first I have this like door hanger that has the QR code to my cookie website. Then on my cookie video, I make these cookie to girl artworks that uh like show what I've done and I talk well I'm drawing. And the other thing is I have this cookie box where it has my descriptions and all the cookie options that are available.
My favorite part is it has the little hearts or the Rosie favorites. It indicates which ones Rosie really likes.
I love that. It's we did something similar here actually for some marketing things, but we put the same thing in the cookies on the back. I love that Rosie created her own description of what they are because no one says they're Thin Mints, they're the minty ones, and no one says they're Dozy Does, they're the peanut butter ones. So I love that. I love that a lot.
Is that your own artwork on the girls? Do you love art?
Yeah, I really like art. This is one of my styles. I also do realism. So I really like making these girls each year.
That's great. I know I have to see your video. So you have to send me your link.
Yes. So when it comes back to knocking on these doors and going in the community, Michelle, what are some safety tips for parents or caregivers that we should keep in mind?
Well, we know that these are minors, so we have to keep an eye on them. And Girl Scout guidance says if you're going around the neighborhood, that if you're from kindergarten through fifth grade, you must be with a trusted adult to go around the neighborhood. Cadets and older are permitted to go out, obviously with their caregiver's approval. They can go out, but they should never be alone. So they should take a friend, sibling, or an adult with them. Never go into the home of someone that they don't know. And also just be careful about carrying cash. And when you're collecting money at any point, whether you're delivering cookies or collecting money up front. So an alternative would be using digital cookie, which most of our Girl Scouts use these days, but it can be an option, not just for sharing a link and ordering online. The app can be a way to take a customer's order right then and there instead of the paper, and they can pay for it at that time with their card. And so now you've got your pre-order, it's paid for, you don't have to worry about cash or anything. So it's less of a risk. And then the other piece I always advise is Girl Scouts should always wear clothing that identifies them as a Girl Scout, such as their vest or sash or their troop shirt. And if their adult going with them has Girl Scout attire, that's always a good thing. If they're going to people's homes they don't know, it helps that person be reassured that these are legitimate people at their door.
When it comes to keeping all of your former customers organized, Megan, how do you go about that?
Well, you saw Rosie's cookie box. So we've used that for a couple of years. And what we do is at the end of every cookie season, Rosie stores her previous order sheets in the box. So as part of her cookie plan, we go back the next year and look to see, okay, is there somebody who's a previous customer that has ordered cookies from Rosie that we've missed? And then we use this contact information to get back in touch. Rosie makes a phone call. Sometimes also, she uses to see what they ordered the last year. Sometimes folks ask that, well, what did I get last year? I ordered how many boxes, and then I ran out and I wanted to order more. So how many did I order last year? Because I made a note to myself that I wanted to order more tag-alongs, and last year I only ordered 2 boxes, something like that. So we just keep these in the cookie box, and then when we pull the cookie box out, that we know that they're kind of always in there for the next year.
Super efficient. Rosie, this one is for you. What tips do you have for Girl Scouts who may be nervous to talk with neighbors they don't know very well?
So we always practice in advance, so I know what I'm going to say. I have talking points that I always repeat, and for people we know and just every people, we usually like ask them questions and to make them feel more engaged. And we also start with people we know, so they are like we're comfortable with talking to them.
Right, you're kind of like warming up for the people that you don't know. That makes sense, getting comfortable. So you talked about, remind me, you told me there was one thing that you do first when you're talking to them.
So the first thing we do is always introduce yourself, because
Always
no
introduce yourself.
matter like who you're talking to, they may forget your name. So like they can trace it back and talk to you and ask you questions and stuff like that.
Are there any other talking points that you follow after you introduce yourself? What exactly is, how does your pitch go?
So after we when like usually when they're like ordering, we talk to them about what we did with the money, or like what we did just in general last year with the cookies we sold, troop, or just me and my mom.
I think also a really good conversation starter that used Rosie is that you show your box. So if you want to show your box now, she shows her box and talks about like which cookie is her favorite. And then she asks them, so what is your favorite cookie? So that usually you can get a lot of, it's kind of fun. We're learning a lot of information about our neighbors, about who doesn't like chocolate and mint combinations, who doesn't like peanut butter and chocolate, who loves it. Coconut is a big conversation that, how many of the moms in the household really love the coconut, but the dads are all about the peanut butter. So it's just, we have a good time kind of having those conversations, and usually you give kind of the news, like, well, what's different this season? What's the update? So like this year, what's the update?
Sadly, there's no news, but it's also the last chance you can get the Girl Scouts more. So
Usually give kind of that update as well. Rosie loves to talk about how she prefers to eat her Thin Mints, so kind of,
I like to eat them frozen.
so we talk about that a lot. And how many Thin Mints are in a serving? We all know that one sleeve is a serving of Thin Mints. So those are kind of universal truths. I also really love it when Rosie runs into former Girl Scouts. So, everybody has a Girl Scout cookie story, and those have been really fun. This year you've got to see a couple of, like, I will say I have a vintage uniform. So some other vintage uniforms, when, we're at the door, someone's like, oh, hey, let me show you something. And like their Girl Scout sash will come out, or their beret will come out. So that's also been really fun.
That is super cute. I kind of want a picture. I want to see those vintage berets myself. So what about when people don't answer the door, Rosie? How do you go about that? Do you leave something behind, or do you visit later? What do you do?
So, like I said before, we have these door hangers that have the QR code, but it also has my mom's phone number. So they can call and say, I want this, this, and this. But also on the back, it has all the cookies. So you can write what you want and then deliver it back to us.
Super smart. Earlier, Rosie said that to kind of get rid of those nerves in the beginning, you start with the houses you do know. Megan, is there anything else that you kind of do for Rosie to get rid of those jitters or prepare to take on the challenge this season?
I think in addition to the safety rules, I think having your kind of trusted adult go with you makes a big difference. So, Rosie is the one that rings the doorbell and introduces herself. And I'm kind of in this supportive role. I hold the box, the, pink box that she made, and sort of play Vanna White as I, open it when she refers to it. And sometimes I'll ask her a question. So, I'll say, oh, hey, Rosie, why don't you, Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so supported you last year. Why don't you, share an update on, how you did last year and where those cookie resources went. So I think that's, a way that I can sometimes just support her and kind of cue her to, share the next thing, or that kind of thing.
That actually brought me to my next question of just this idea of how you navigate going back to the customers when you deliver the cookies to them. Rosie, how do you show them that you're grateful for their purchase and their support?
So I usually have a tag that says thank you. I sign it. I write on it, say like really say thank you. But I also, when I get to the door, I try to be engaged and really like talk back to them and talk with them.
Michelle, as far as more customer service skills, other than the ones that Rosie and Megan kind of touched on, what are some other ones that our girls can work on throughout the season?
Well, I think the people skills are huge. We don't always get those opportunities. So, of course, selling the cookies, delivering them are great ways to practice those skills. But even just reaching out, good customer service is providing updates along the way. So, the customers place their order maybe at the very beginning of the program, and you don't get your cookies for 5, 6 weeks or so. how about contacting those customers just to let them know, like, with an update? Say, hey, I'm picking up my cookies from my troop on this day, and I expect to have them delivered to you by this Saturday. And just so that they know when it's coming and when to expect. It's just like any order. If you order something online, you always want to know when it's coming and you're tracking the shipping. We can't exactly do that with cookie order sheets, but our Girl Scouts can be that tracker for us. And another way, and I mentioned this at the beginning, that cookie booths are a great way for Girl Scouts to practice those customer service skills. The environment's a little bit different. You likely don't know any of the people that you're going to encounter, and you get to work together with other Girl Scouts in your troop. So you're going to have to market. You're going to have to be excited and show enthusiasm, even if you're not feeling great that day. You have to draw people to the booth, and you have to talk to them, have that exchange of information. And then, but also learning to deal with people who aren't as excited about buying cookies, might ignore you. Learning how to deal with that is important, or how to just be gracious about somebody who says no, thank you, and just, hey, I have a great day type of thing. And those are just great skills, learning to be polite, learning to have good customer service for sure.
Rosie, what about you? What do you love about the Girl Scout cookie program and selling and things like that?
So my favorite part about the Girl Scout cookie program is it gives a chance to be creative. Like for example, I made the Cookie to Girl artwork video, but I also got to make the box. So you can take it to another level if you want, to a point where you can be creative and have fun. I also just like the people. I like talking with my neighbors. I like having a good time with my local Girl Scouts or my mom. So it just makes it really fun.
I think that's something for other scouts and their parents who might be nervous going door to door. I think that one of the things I didn't anticipate is how reinforcing people are for Rosie's effort. So she's out there and she's knocking on doors, and they love seeing her and they love talking to her. You know, she wears her vest, and folks want to talk about, you know, all of the activities and patches that and badges that she has on her vest, and they want to share about their time scouting. And I think that that's something I didn't anticipate at first, is how in this activity, how reinforcing folks are and how encouraging they are of the scouting. They love to see her out there. They love to see her going to the effort to knock on the door. And I think it really puts a spring in her step when we, you know, have that conversation with someone. They, you know, support her by buying cookies. They say they're looking forward to seeing her in March, and they really just kind of give her a pat on the back for being a scout and a Girl Scout, and for going to the effort to hit the sidewalk to come and visit them.
I think it's great. And one thing that came to mind when you were talking, Megan, is the enjoyment of the customers. We have so many customers in our communities who never see a Girl Scout come to their door anymore. There's maybe fewer Girl Scouts out and about. And so there's so much opportunity in our communities for entrepreneurs like Rosie to get out there and visit their neighbors, go talk to the people, because it may be the only opportunity that they have to buy cookies that year. And why not be that Girl Scout to make that connection with them, and they can learn so much, and you can learn so much about them.
That's exactly right, Rosie. How many times have we heard folks, neighbors say, oh, if somebody makes the effort to come to the door, I always buy cookies. So that's a pretty reinforcing. And I think it really shows, Rosie, that it's, you know, worth the effort and kind of worth getting over those nervous feelings to go knock on the door.
Megan, you kind of mentioned about what you think the neighbors and the customers love to see, but I'm curious, what benefits do you like to see from Rosie participating in the cookie program?
I think that It's one of the unique opportunities that Rosie has to set her own goal and then to figure out how she's going to reach it. And then when she reaches those milestones, I think it is incredibly good for her self-confidence that she knows she can set these goals and she can reach them. Last year, she earned some trefoil awards that helped support her camp experience. And I think the way she internalized that, hey, I worked really hard, I achieved this goal, and now I get to go to camp, and all of the fun adventures she had that way. I really see that paying off. So there's lots of skills she's learning along the way, but I really see her internalizing that and gaining that self-confidence. And you really have seen it build year after year. Plus, I have the benefit of having been a Girl Scout myself, and a lot of those skills that you learn at the door interacting with people, I still use them. I mean, I can draw a direct line between my time knocking on doors, and selling Girl Scout cookies with kind of what I do in the community today. So I think it's I'm proud of her, and I love seeing how she is proud of herself, and kind of that confidence piece. And I just think it's really worth the effort.
Yes, very worth it, very rewarding. Rosie, this one's for you. Speaking of rewards, which one are you most excited about this year?
So I know there's a lot of Girl Scout sisters tuning in, so I know the bento box is going to be popular. But one of my favorite things are the trefoil awards because they pay for camp. So then I get to really have fun after I already put in the work.
Exactly. All right, this is our last question. It's actually for Michelle and Megan. Do either of you have tips for other Girl Scout caregivers on how to keep the program girl led?
Michelle, do you want me to
Yeah.
start? Then
Yeah, I was gonna say you've said so much about how you support Rosie, so I think there's great things in there. We've talked so much about goal setting, so working with a Girl Scout and helping them brainstorm, helping them set goals and talk about the ways to get to those goals, not just setting them and doing nothing with it. So encourage a Girl Scout to think creatively of what they can do to sell those cookies. And another thing, and we hear this a lot, is with digital cookie, it's too passive, but it doesn't have to be. It's sometimes easy just to take that link as a parent and just share it out, but that's not helping our Girl Scouts build the skills. So I really encourage caregivers to help your Girl Scout create a flyer, create those door hangers. When cookies come in, get some extras and put them in a wagon and go with your Girl Scout around the neighborhood and knock on doors that way as well. And as a caregiver, those who work and might take an order card to work, instead of just taking the sheet, leaving it on a table, work with your Girl Scout to have her write a letter or create a poster that they can put up about their goals and have that buy that, so you have that Girl Scout connection to that rather than just the parent making the sale for them. So it's really just resisting the temptation to do it all for them. And sometimes I've fallen into that trap as a parent before. And in the last season, my Girl Scout sold cookies. She's not a super outgoing girl when it comes to those things. And it was during the pandemic, and we made flyers, but I made her go along with me around the neighborhood and put those flyers on the doors, knock on the doors, talk to the customers that way, deliver the orders. So she had to be a part of all those things. I wasn't going to do all that for her.
I've always said to Rosie that I'm in as far as she's in. And so what I think has been pretty cool to watch is how we talked about her goal increasing, but taking that philosophy, I've also seen her skills increase. So, when she was younger, she needed more support. And then as she's gotten older, I've been able to kind of pull back every year and allow her to have that satisfaction where she's in the driver's seat. So one of the things that I think has been pretty cool about this year, and Rosie's in 5th grade, is that now when we come back from going around the neighborhood, we do the math and we tally all the cookies to see how many of each kind and whatever. And the kind of the new step this year is that Rosie's adding all those numbers and thinking about, what her cookie totals are and figuring out the percentage she is on the way towards her goal. So it's neat to see every year kind of what the new possibility is in her skills in terms of her cookie effort. So it's exciting. And really, again, I think that people reward the girl-led. It's super reinforcing. They love seeing her out there and having her make the effort.
Thank you guys so much, Rosie, Megan, Michelle. Those are all the questions that I have for today. Again, thank you so much for taking the time to share your expertise on Girl Scouts of Eastern Missouri's Cookie Chats segment. Rosie, we wish you much success this cookie season. And if you all watching have any questions or topics you would like to see featured on upcoming Cookie Chats, DM us on Instagram or send them to communications@girlscoutsem.org. Thank you for tuning in. We hope you have a wonderful cookie season.
Thank you.